Hey guys, this is the Let's Get Ballyer Talking podcast. I'm Riker, my pronouns are he, him.
I'm Sal, my pronouns are they, them.
I'm Brian, my pronouns are he, him.
I'm Dan, I go by any pronouns.
Yeah, so this podcast is going to be bringing to light some of the issues and aspects of being part of the LGBT community, both within Ballyfermot, which is our area, and the surrounding area of like Dublin and Ireland in general as well. We'll be bringing forward our own experiences and our own stories, things that we've seen, things that we've heard as well. So
the topics we discuss on this podcast will be colour coordinated. Typically, most of them will be assigned to each colour that is represented on the rainbow, which is usually the symbol of pride. Obviously, the final one being called Pride, which will lead into our actual event here at Familibase Ballyfermot, will be held on Pride morning, June 29th for this year in 2024. Every year, the Familibase organise a breakfast that is based on celebrating community and celebrating pride in the community. And if you want to come in, we'll have a stall there. If you have any questions of stuff, whether it's being discussed on the podcast, if it's personal issues, or if anything you just want to ask us, feel free to let us know, because we'll all be there, hopefully. It is an open table, so literally just come up. There's no queue or any sort of stupid thing you need to do. Just come up and ask us, please.
Keep in mind, this is all just a bit of fun. We're not professionals. We're just speaking about things that affect us and our own experiences. So with that being said, I hope you enjoy, and on to the episode.
Alright, so this episode is green, which stands for nature in our LGBT flag. And in this one, we will be covering housing and services. So I think the biggest one for the LGBT community surrounding houses is, have you ever been worried about losing your housing situation if you decided to come out?
Oh yeah, absolutely. One of the main facts is that both my parents were not accepting, and one of them is still to this day is not accepting at all. So typically I hid it away from my family, thinking it's a completely heretical bad thing. Tried to deny it myself for years and be like, oh no, you should like women, you should like the opposite gender, that's normal. Tried to force myself in a relationship with a woman, didn't go well. And eventually during lockdown it just sort of de-escalated, where like you had the whole like mental breakdown, existential crisis, yada yada yada. Eventually came to the fact it's like, oh, I do like men. Oh, that's mad.
interesting.
Oh no.
The whole fact was that like I didn't actually get to confidently, or at least protect myself in a way that, you know, when you come out where you gain, I don't know how to put it, like you took control of the situation, you're able to show them what you mean.
Yeah, you put out the vulnerability, you take back the confidence from it.
That didn't get to happen for me. Instead they looked through my phone, and it was a risk of, okay, so they think I was up to something more, risk of literally being kicked out because they thought I was something entirely different. And in fact it was just the whole thing. It's like, yeah, you have a gay son, yeah. That's yeah, his text messages with another man are real, they're very real. This is nothing, you know, bad, but you know, it happens.
Yeah,
Shit happens. But realistically, it was an amalgamation of all of us during lockdown not living well with each other, on top of the fact that their firstborn son came out as gay and they had such high hopes for having grandchildren with me. So that was much of a shock to the system that it was like, right, this is the last straw, out, get out you go.
Day bye bye.
Yeah, day bye bye. Out you go. So yeah.
How old were you actually when you came out?
16 to then. Yeah.
Oh god. Okay.
Yeah. And even then, for public wise, I didn't feel confident in myself socially, full stop. So it wasn't until basically 18 when I started, like, not disregarding it, but just sort of like, if someone brings it into the topic, just be like, oh yeah, I'm gay, and then that I leave at that. There's nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah.
But it's just the risk of how people completely change on you was a circumstance that, like, I was basically out of a home at that point. Over, obviously there was other things to do with it, with home life, family life, that I won't get into, but a prime factor in it was, oh my god, we have a gay son, oh my god, he'll turn out to be something worse. And that's a big stereotype with gay people a lot, is that they assume the absolute worst in them, is that, oh, they're going to be preying on children and yada yada yada. I had this whole talk with them and they were like, I hope you're not going to be doing all this evil stuff and all, and I was like, no, I'm just attracted to the same sex, full stop. I don't think they got that until recently, where nowadays they've lived with a gay son for like 4 years, but like three-ish years, you know. It's like, okay, they're open to the fact that, hey, my child probably won't have a wife and kids, but maybe he'll have kids a different way. I think that was their biggest fear, is that their bloodline would stop with me.
There'd be no grandkids.
But they also have 2 other kids that could also completely
Yeah,
join their
that's kind of where I'm like, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I was 14 when I initially came out as bisexual, and I remember putting it up as a Facebook post, as everyone did in 2015.
Yeah.
You whacked it all over your Facebook to let all of your friends in school, because you only had like 60 people on your Facebook at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So whacked it on Facebook post. Came out. Me and my girlfriend at the time were like public, and I just remember my mum like barging into my bedroom and being like, "You should have talked to me about this first. This is a disgrace. You're a disgrace to this family. Take this down now." And I'm kind of like, hang on a second. I did try to talk to you about this. I told you multiple times that I had a girlfriend, and you kept saying, "Yeah, your best friend." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay." So I had actually tried to tell her, "Hey, I'm with a girl now," and it was just kind of one of them things of, "Sure you are, babe.
Yeah.
Of course." And then when it obviously went public, then all hell broke loose. And then I figured out that on Facebook you were able to like block people from certain statuses. So I was like, oh, I can still come out to my friends and I just block all my family off it. So I did that for a very long time.
Savage.
So
I actually didn't know you could do that on Facebook.
Yeah,
But
I don't
here
know
we
if
are.
you still can, but I know you could. But I did that for a very long time as well. I never really had the fear of being kicked out, but there was definitely, like, still to this day, it's still not talked about in my house. We do not talk about anything out of the norm in any way, shape or form. Do you know what I mean? It's just, we have a very old style household in the sense that I just don't talk to my parents. My brothers would be the same. They wouldn't really talk to my parents, but we
Kinda
as
like
siblings would all talk to each
The
other.
dollhouse effect, like
Yeah,
put on a.
yeah, but like we as siblings would all talk to each other. So like I've really good relationships with my brothers. I've really
That's
good
good.
relationship with the younger two as well. So it's kind of it benefited us to some degree that we could still talk to each other at least.
Yeah, just at each other.
What about you, Riker?
Well, I mean, I guess I had like a little bit of a fear that I'd be kicked out, but I think that's mostly just from, you know, you hear the stories of people coming out and then their family suddenly turning on them. And then when I came out, my mom was like, "Don't be fucking stupid. What were you scared for?" It wasn't talked about for the first while that I came out. I think I came out as trans before I came out as bisexual. Yeah, because I would have been 14 coming out as trans and 16 coming out as bi. And my mom was like, "Come back when you're 18," which fair enough.
Yeah.
I
See if it's a phase.
yeah,
and
I
then
came
go
back when
to
I was 18. I was like, boy
boy that likes girls and boys
and boys
and days and all the gays.
I think I got lucky because I'm not too sure about my dad's side of the family, but my mom's side of the family, we definitely have like gay relatives. So, and my mom had gay friends. Like it wasn't anything new and scary to her. And also they have no choice but to be accepting now. Like I'm not the only LGBT child.
In your
So
family, yeah.
we kind of banded together and was like, haha. Like it got to a point where the second oldest came out as straight because she was like, there's too many gays in this family.
I'm feeling left out. Let me come out as hetero real quick.
I think, I didn't really have much of a fear of losing my house, particularly. So I got lucky in that sense. What about you, Dan?
Well, I don't know how my family is going to react, so I haven't come out yet. When they find out, I'll let you know. But I don't think they'd go that far anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's always that hope that their parents, they're not going to go that far.
Yeah.
I think definitely when you mentioned the whole like ma side and dad side of the family, there was a night and day difference, whether it's even the grandparents' families. For example, there's one side of my family where you like my mom was discussing it like years later when she's comfortable with the fact that like I've accepted sexuality and stuff, and she's like, "Do you see other family members and think, oh, they're gay? Do you have like that thing?" I was like, again,
the gay there.
yeah, and I was like, yes, I do have it, and yes, I can absolutely point out to these specific people and be like, I think he's been closeted for maybe 30 plus years.
Yeah.
He needs a fella.
Just let them test the waters and see
And
how it
that's what
goes.
she was also. I think it was not only the fact that years after that, like, whole thing of finding out that it was that, and the whole risk of everything being taken away from me, basically my life being taken away from me from that point, the safety of my home, the safety of family and stuff, yada yada. Over time, I got to see why those fears were insulated, and it's because of really what the family had passed down, and it was just constant hate. A lot of the people from her grandparents' side of the family and her grandmother's side of the family, they all never came out, even though she knows to this day that those people probably would be much happier without the same-sex relationship. Sure, most of them aren't even in relationships. They're just, they're just been telling their family, I'm just single, I just can't find anyone. No, you're gay, honey. You're gay. Yeah. And seeing all them is that she was sort of afraid that would end up like me as well. That was
right. So you'd end up in your 40s, still alone, still not being able to tell people.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah, and it's definitely like I'm lucky enough to be in a time where that actually can't happen to me now. Or at least I have the confidence enough to be, hey, this is me, and that's that. I don't need to care about what anyone else thinks.
It is genuine fears though, because especially like our parents' generation, it would have been that, and then our grandparents' generation going up further, it definitely would have been that as well. So they are genuine concerns, and you can understand it from a parental point of view as well. Like it's terrifying, and like even she's watching me as family members still in like 40s, 50s, 60s, still saying, "Oh, I haven't found the right person," because they're still afraid of that stigma of coming out, and like that whole there's a whole stigma of coming out when you get into your later life as well. Which is kind of like, we lied to all of us for so many years.
It's not an easy battle for anyone of any age, really. On the topic of safety in housings, do you think that hostels are less safe for LGBT people?
Yes.
Yeah, I've heard some dodgy stories.
I have like a ton of family in hostels, and especially very close ones, for example, or be cousins and even like actual parents, relatives, for example. And the experience that they've had in there is brutal. Say, for example, you look a certain way or you portray a certain way, that some people get the wrong idea in there, whether it's through, they might think you're gay or you actually are gay, and they notice that. And a lot of people, I don't know what it is in hostels, but typically it's a lot of hostility in there. Ironically, being called a hostel, it's a hostile environment. Yeah, so like obviously there is some people who are there because they're in unfortunate circumstances. Others have driven themselves into that scenario, and they take it out the worst on everyone, whether it's robbing your items or even if you pay to get in that night and you're sleeping on the floor, they'll outright like remove you from the floor and stuff and sleep in your place instead, because that's a gay fella, I deserve to be there, not them. It's a whole it's a weird class, not even class system, it's just like, you should be lower than me, you don't deserve to be here.
It's the whole thing of gay people don't deserve rights. Like especially with stigmas of STDs and stuff, they think, because they've been on the streets, they've probably been having sex all the time, so they'd stay away from rooms like them, for example. It's that, they'd be carrying AIDS and stuff. It's a weird phenomenon for people who are all in the same circumstances, struggling, yet they decide to still put others lower than them, despite being at the low point themselves.
And like you hear all the stories of like LGBT, especially young LGBT people, getting attacked, having knives pulled on them, being screamed at in what is now their safe room because it's the only place they can get. Like it's just, even the places that are meant to be there to help them are just like not helping.
And like speaking of safe places for specifically younger LGBT people, but I suppose it would cover any age, do you think it's harder to find housing as an LGBT person? I feel like they take one look at you and they're like,
Like, remember not years ago, but like obviously every time you're told about job interviews, they always look for like these bad altercations to your body, whether it's piercings, tattoos, or even like dyed hair, for example. Like they look like that, it's like, that's not employable, or that doesn't look employee worthy. And then on top of that, for some reason they ask very specifically about your gender identity now and your sexuality, so they can either use you as a marketing strategy or outright say, no, you are shelved away or in the bin.
Because they're not allowed to discriminate again, for housing, they're not allowed to discriminate against you based on your sexuality, but they can, like, bump more desirable.
Yeah, they can choose other people over you. Like,
they can take in more desirable
Yeah.
tenants in their eyes and that type of thing. So
I
kind of just think it depends on who your landlord is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think particularly it affects younger LGBT people because it's just harder for younger people to find a house in the first place.
Oh yeah.
But when you look a bit gay, like, good luck to you, do you know? It's like, I don't want this young person throwing parties and also gay parties. No.
Yeah. And I think it is, like, going back to the whole, like, gay culture is date culture and nightclubs and hanging out and house parties and drugs and alcohol and
As if that didn't happen, like, with straight people the same fucking time.
But it's still, it's still
It's the
stigmatized
stigma,
and it's still stereotyped that the gays will do this. If we give them a house, they'll destroy it and that type of thing. Now it is changing slowly.
Yeah, we're definitely better than we were.
Yeah, 100%.
But we're still not quite there.
Yeah, yeah.
There's definitely, like, there's still going to be, and it boils down to, like, the older generation mindset as well. A lot of landlords are older. Like, older generation.
Yeah.
So that's their mindset. Yeah, no, I do think it is harder for LGBT people to find housing. But it's harder for young people in general.
Yeah.
It's harder for people in this day and age. You can't find a house. Good luck to you.
Housing,
good God.
whether it's to do with anything personally, but just in general.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this,
Like,
this
people
country
are
and housing at the
People
moment.
are still staying at home well into their 30s at this point.
Yeah, like, it's
People
just
are tenting
impossible.
on the streets. Like, it's gotten that desperate where there's just no place, so just set up a tent on the street.
Yeah.
And
But
they're
it's crazy because there is places they
They're
just
just-
won't put people there.
it's also insanely expensive. Like, seeing how the prices have went up for houses, it's way too much for anyone nowadays. to
Should
fucking
the average rent a month for, like, renting only for, say, like, a 3-bedroom house is over $2,000 a month.
It's ridiculous. Like.
So you're paying like
you need
300
like 6 people in there.
like €300 a week to rent alone. It could be, and then that's not including your bills, your electricity, your water, your food, your internet, your television license, your everything else that goes into that. Your clothes on your back, your transport. If you have a car, the maintenance on your car as well. Like, none of that gets taken into account.
So what LGBT services are available in your area, being Ballyfermot or Dublin or Ireland, as broad as you want?
Well, the main LGBT service in Ireland would be Belong To.
Yeah.
They would be the main ones. They're the kind of main hub for everything in regards to, like, kid services, adolescents, young people, families, things like that. Obviously Familibase now as well.
Yeah, we have this here.
Yeah. So initially we would have affiliated with Belong To and done training through them to set up our own kind of little LGBT hub, if you want. And we run, I'm pretty sure there's a LGBT group that runs out of BYS as well. I know there was last year.
Okay.
Yeah, so, like, youth services will kind of run their own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. It is nice to see stuff like that starting up. Like, as a little wee gay, I would have loved that stuff. But
too late now.
a bit old. But sure, look, here I am. It's actually super handy having you here, being the person that started this group in the Familibase, getting the ball rolling.
Yeah, so we would have set this up in December of 2021, and we ran it for, like, the last 2 weeks before we closed, so obviously nobody came. Because it was cold and raining and the middle of December, and I was also leaving on maternity leave.
And I didn't live here.
Yeah, you did not live here at the time. So I was leaving on maternity leave for 3 months as well. So I was like,
And it was still the aftermath of COVID as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. This was literally, like, we were still technically in COVID. So when we came back down in 2022, Al took it over for a couple of weeks to get kind of numbers in, and then I came back. And our first year was great. We had so much fun. Like, we had as young as 13 in that group, I think.
Yeah.
And we didn't have enough to split a youngers and an olders group, but we had enough staff members to have that kind of mixed age group.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it worked really well. And it was the first kind of group of its kind to come out. Because obviously there's been like the gay people all kind of went to say like the arts and the music, the film, theatre, they all
like
kind of
we pick each other and group up like.
They all kind of went to them spaces anyway, and people were openly gay and bi and whatever, in openly LGBT in them spaces.
Yeah.
So there was never a need for a specific space. But then, like, obviously as communities fucking develop and things go on, there was becoming this need of this. There was like this empty gap of, okay, well, we have all these LGBT, like, queer young people, but we've no actual space dedicated to looking at policy and procedure, raising awareness, doing community events, bringing people together to show them these things. So how do we do this? And this is how we were created.
It's kind of bad with, like, say my college, for example, like, obviously they have like a gay SOC, for example, like a gay society for, like, you know, LGBT members, right? But it's never advertised, first off, because it would give the campus a negative reputation. But second off, it's actually never advertised to students by people unless it's in the medical field.
Oh wow.
So they not label it, but they give a subsection of it that's ran by the campus. Typically, if you go into, say, mental health services, for example, they will say there is an LGBT support unit for you, which is basically where they group all people who are also struggling with mental health, who are also, you know, identifying with LGBT into one thing. It's like rehab, or not rehab, what was that, like Alcoholics Anonymous?
Oh, so it's just like
AA for gays?
Yeah,
it's gay.
It's gay.
It's like everyone's here, it's like, hello, I'm gay. And then you go to
Hi,
the next
gay.
person.
Hello, I'm
What are you
Ryan.
here
My name
for?
is
Ryan. My pronouns are
Ryan.
Hi,
I'm gay.
Yeah, but I never actually attended it, but like I was recommended because like they were like, oh well, a lot of people on campus who, you know, are wouldn't feel inclined to actually be open about themselves. I was like, no, I'm open. It's just your campus is just filled with a ton of straight people.
I feel like there's always that. Like I feel like services in general, you should have your policies in place. There should be training involved for all workers, like in and out of the education sector. Just the general kind of community, shops, retail, everything like that. There should be some form of training in regards to LGBT people and what they do, who they like, and that type of thing, just so that there's an understanding. Yeah.
I just want to bring up as well on the medical side of services. God, it's a nightmare. This country, if you didn't know. Specifically on the transgender side of the LGBT community, between waiting lists, trying to find people to help you, not knowing whether you're going to be sent to England for a diagnosis or not, or whether you're going to get one here, whether you're going to have to wait 8 years or get one tomorrow. Like, it's shocking. It's actually shocking. Like, I still to this day do not know the name of a therapist in Ireland that can give you a diagnosis for gender dysphoria.
Yeah.
Like, and that you need, the thing is, as a trans person, you need a diagnosis of gender dysphoria before they start you on hormone replacement therapy, which sucks. Well, I mean, actually, I haven't checked that in a couple of years. At least when I was trying to go through it at the age of 18, you needed a diagnosis. They may have changed that. I'm not too sure. But I remember it being a nightmare. I'm still on a waiting list. Somewhere, possibly. Maybe. They might have taken me off it. Who knows?
You're somewhere over the rainbow.
Yeah, but it's been almost 6 years since then, you know? Like, it's crazy how difficult it is to get help as a trans person in this country.
I haven't seen like say with colleges, for example, where we have a ton of like student voices and awareness of on problems that are going on, and it's whether it's a social media push or in the college campus push where we raise awareness. There was one, I believe, in January or something where it was like blood in your hands for the HSE, because they were refusing blood transfusions between trans people, for example. It was a whole thing where like that, it was that, and also donating blood. You weren't allowed as a trans person to donate blood still, even though that's like a whole stigma that like, oh, gay people can't give blood.
But why specifically trans people?
I don't know. They never really declared why. I read into it for a while, and it was like, why specifically trans people? What is the point of this? So I assisted in like making like posters and stuff, for example, to be awareness, because I was like, that's unfair. Like, hey, if they want to give blood or if they need a blood transfusion, why are they being excluded from it entirely?
I mean, it could be down to a hormone level thing.
Possible, but like
it wouldn't affect it that badly that you wouldn't be able to receive transfusions. Maybe give them, fair enough, but like to receive blood.
Imagine you're like bleeding out and they're like, "I'm sorry, you're trans."
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Like,
Jesus.
And especially it was a lack of awareness of it as well. Like I even seen the turnout for it. Is that considered like I went because I was with a friend who was also trans and they invited me to come along and just do art and stuff. They were like, you're good at painting, go do this. I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm supporting a cause. And then afterwards I seen the turnout and there was maybe like 10 people who knew about
this
it.
this is the first I've heard of it.
Yeah.
And they were just standing outside the Trinity campus and people were asking like, what's this for? It's like, oh, but trans people can't do shit with blood and like the medical scene. Like it's like, huh?
Christ.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Like?
Lovely.
Yeah.
I know I briefly touched on it on the medical side, but do you think it's hard to find or access LGBT services in this country?
LGBT specific, yes.
Yeah. It's a little tricky to find unless you know the right people.
Yeah, again, like Belong to have so many services, kind of youth services, youth community centres and services that have put in the work to set up kind of LGBT specific services. They're easy enough to access or at least gain information about.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's not a very wildly accessible area.
It's not. I think it's
anyway.
I think personally it's a little easier to find at least the social side of services
Yeah.
nowadays than it was when I was like 16.
Yeah, no,
And
definitely.
looking for help.
Yeah.
It's way easier now than it was back then. Because I think I never heard about Belong To until I went to my first Pride parade, and there was this big. They were in the parade, obviously.
Oh wow.
And I'm looking at them, and I turned to my friend and was like, "What the fuck is that?"
Yeah. But I mean, that's coming because you're like you would have grown up in the west.
Yeah,
of
the
Ireland
west
as
of
well.
Ireland. Good God, lads.
Yeah, so like whereas I grew up in Ballyfermot, I grew up in Dublin, so like kind of Belong To, as much as it wasn't everywhere, it was also
It was still
everywhere at the
everywhere,
same
yeah.
time. Yeah.
Like
Couldn't tell you where a single one is. I know there's definitely a hub in town, and I'm pretty sure there's one in Tallaght.
Yeah.
But apart from that, I won't be able to tell you where they are. But I know that I know so many people that have
Yeah.
gone to Belong To, both for counselling side of things in regards to like trans people looking for advice for medical transitions, and the social aspects and the youth kind of groups as well.
Mhm.
Like I know so many people that have gone to Belong To and got like great stuff out of it. I did my own training with Belong To as well, so that I could set up this group.
Yeah.
So
even particularly this LGBT group that we are in, how did you find us again, Dan? You just kind of appeared one day.
Yeah. I got recommended it through Ability.
Oh, okay.
I told them I was like interested in maybe doing like work with like LGBT people, and they said okay, LGBT group.
You
Which
go.
is not. I mean, it's a bit different, but cool.
Yeah.
I don't care.
LGBT group, and it's a handful of gays in a
Yeah.
room.
Yeah.
Like,
because I know, like obviously I set it up. You were brought in by a friend.
Yeah.
And you were brought in by your auntie.
Yeah.
dropped it on the front door.
Literally drop on the front door and be like, go be gay with the gays. Have fun. See you later. Yeah.
It's like dropping your kids off at crash, like.
Literally. I'll be back for you in an hour.
And on especially with the Familibase, like it runs so many different types of groups and whatnot. How do you think mainstream services can be more accommodating to the LGBT community?
I mean, your main one with every service is just looking at your policy. Do your policies, your procedures, your safeguarding, everything like that, does it include people in the LGBT community the same way it would include like the safeguarding of people with colour,
Right.
different religions,
Okay.
everything like that. So once it's written, you don't want to exclude, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The other people by giving them this inclusive space either.
Of course.
If it's overly kind of put out there that we are an LGBT friendly everything, and it's kind of you're nearly deterrent away from it. Whereas if it's just written into your policy, that people do. I know people don't always read policies, but like
it's still there to protect.
It's there to protect. The companies, the organisations are always able to say, well, look, we looked at this. We did put stuff in. We had people come in and make sure that it was okay. Doing them reviews.
We did the training.
Doing the training. Bringing more kind of inclusivity in terms of staffing
Yeah.
and having people like send a policy to someone you know that's gay and be like, yo,
Is this okay?
is this okay?
Yeah.
Send it, ask like a local organisation that you know form these and be like, yo, we don't know how to do this, can you show us how to do it?
Yeah.
It's not as difficult as I think people think it is.
Yeah. And even like on the topic of not wanting to shove it in people's faces, like here at the Familibase, there's rainbows up. We have our own group billboard kind of thing. But I mean, it's there alongside every other group's billboard.
Yeah.
There's other groups' arts on the wall. There's all
along
sorts
with our
of
big
things.
rainbow plaque banner thing. There's
Yeah.
also a giant Bob Marley mural.
Bob Marley is
Do you
there.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's been there for
And if you
10
come
years.
down to the Familibase on the 29th of June for our Pride breakfast meeting, you can see Bob Marley. Sorry, I went salesman. I'm still in work mode.
But yeah, like it's just kind of it's you're nearly part of the furniture. Yeah, there's rainbows on the walls, and they were done by kind of queer people.
Rainbow kids.
Yeah, they were rainbows done by rainbow kids, but there's also 6-year-olds artwork on the same wall.
Exactly.
Do you
Like
know what I
it's a
mean?
space for all of the groups.
Yeah.
It's not just, oh look, we like gay people, you know? And I, even as a gay person, I'm so happy. I'm so sick of walking into youth centres and being like, we like gay people. It feels fake.
Yeah.
Do you know how fake it feels?
That's what I mean. The over inclusivity of
Yeah.
it is deterring you away from going back. And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, if it doesn't need to be pushed in your face. But if you're able to say, oh, we have actually looked into this, we've done the research, we've changed what we need to change, and we are more than happy to take on people, learn from experience, change what we need to do,
Exactly.
review policy, review procedure,
Yeah.
do everything that we
Keep
have
up
to.
with the times, kind of, yeah.
Redo training when we have to redo
Absolutely.
training. Like that's all you're kind of looking for.
Yeah.
If you have a basic understanding of it, perfect. Go from there.
Yeah, I think honestly we're doing pretty good. At least, obviously this is the only service I'm part of. I haven't really, living in the west of Ireland, there is no LGBT services. You've got Feroga, that's about it. So like this is my first kind of, wow, I get to be gay with my gay friends. Like, right, so I think that just about covers housing and services. There's not much to be talked about. Moral of the story, it was a lot worse a few years ago. We're doing a bit better.
Yeah.
Ireland's shit for housing anyways, but sure, look it, what can you do?
And in regards to services, they are doing a lot better.
They're way better.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Policy is changing. People are more open to training, and that's all we can ask for.
100%. And on that note, we will see you in the next episode.
Day.